Hello, welcome everyone to Salesforce Musketeer channel. Please visit our website salesforcemusketeer.com and you can become one of the musketeers by just sharing knowledge in one of our community blogs, or you can just share your video where you can teach someone of the Salesforce concepts, and then you can become one of the musketeers. You can also visit that website to see some tutorials which we have uploaded, and there you can learn about some of the Salesforce concepts. In this video, we will cover a very important Salesforce topic, which is integration architecture. Before we jump into how Salesforce integration works, I think it's important to learn a little bit about how internet works and what is OSI model, so that you know which layer we use when we send message across the systems. If you are from if you are from engineering background, you might have learned this during your engineering time, or even if you do not belong to engineering background, then also it's very easy to learn. And I will just give you the overview, or the high level overview of this OSI. So OSI stands for Open System Interconnection. It contains 7 layers, with each layer representing a different category of networking function. Basically, to communicate with one or two systems, we split the communication into 7 different layers. That is what OSI means. So it's written here that is based on the concept of splitting up communication system into 7 abstract layers. Let's take an example that you go to a browser and just write www.facebook.com. So behind the scene, it goes through these 7 layers. The first important layer is a physical layer. So all the internet data is basically it's a raw bit stream which sends over the Ethernet cable. So that's the physical layer where it goes through Ethernet cable, your router. So that is physical layer. Now, second important layer, which is on the top of this physical layer, is data link layer. It actually converts this raw bit streams into chunks, or I'll say frames, and it also manages the MAC address for Ethernet. This data link layer is also responsible for handling errors, such as any transmission error happens, or any frames received not in sequences. Then this that is being handled in data link layer. Now, third is a network layer, which tells the destination where you want to go to, where your bit streams need to go to. So it maintains IP address. So for example, when we write www.facebook.com, in backend that address gets converted into IP address, which is needed for as a destination point for packets where it goes and it brings the data back. Now the fourth layer is a transport layer, which transmits data using transmission protocol, including TCP and UDP. Fifth is a session layer. It is responsible for maintaining sessions and controlling ports. So the session ID we generate, or when we log into Facebook, the session which is being maintained is through this session layer. And if after some time of inactivity you get logged down, the session gets broken. So all those things are being maintained at session layer. Now, sixth layer is a presentation layer, which ensure that data is in usable format and is where the data encryption or decryption happens. So basically, this makes the data which we receive from the server, like for example, we write www.facebook.com, and when we receive a data back, then it encrypts or decrypt and make it as a usable format for human to read. So seventh, which is the last layer, is the application layer. It's a human computer interaction layer where application can access the network service. For example, in a web browser application, the application layer protocol HTTP packages the data need to send and receive web page content. So when we are going to use integration where we will communicate with other system using HTTP, then we will make use of this application layer. So what is API? I think it is very important to understand API so that we can integrate Salesforce system with a third-party system. So it says that it defines some protocols and tools for building application software. It stands for Application Programming Interface. It is a set of clearly defined method for communication between various software component. So in general term, I can say that if you want to communicate between Salesforce or any third party application, which is Google or your custom built application in Java, so we can do it via API. So API is a shipping vessel for software. API for web service consists of message which is passed to and from application. For example, if you want to interact with Google Maps, so Salesforce will send, okay, I'm sending you latitude and longitude. Tell me what is the address there. So we send the message or as a request to Google API and we get the response back. Okay, this latitude longitude is actually at this city. So that kind of information we can get from Google API by using APIs. There are two type of most commonly used APIs, which are REST API and SOAP API. We will learn about this REST API and SOAP API, and we will see it in demo how we can use these APIs to communicate between two systems. But before that, we need to know what is JSON. JSON is actually a format in which the data is being sent to other system and being received from the system. So when Salesforce is interacting with, let's say, a Google API, we can send the message or request in JSON format, and we can receive the response back also in JSON format. So basically, it is used for low processing power, such as mobile. It contains key value pair. I'll show you an example where how key and value looks like. It's human readable, and we have Apex has or Salesforce has provided this class or method JSON.c serialize, which helps you to extract information or data from the JSON very easily. It is less secure compared to XML. Generally, XML we use it for more secure transaction, like with any financial transaction with any banks. It has types like string, boolean, integer. So very simple example, we have a name which is a key and this is a value John. Double quote means it's a string. If it is not double quote, then it means it could be a number, age, and it can also have a boolean. So on the left side we have key, on the right side we have value, and this has to be wrapped in the curly bracket. When this bracket comes, then think of this as a JSON with this key value pair. Let's take another little complicated example where we have nested brackets. If you see the first bracket, we have menu, which is a key, and inside this we have a value, which is also a value is also a key value pair here. ID, value, pop-up, and in this pop-up we have another value which is menu item. And if you see the square bracket here, which tells that it's the array, so it can hold this key value pair multiple times. Now we learned about JSON. Now let's learn about something about XML. It stands for Extensible Markup Language. XML tags are not predefined. The structure format is easy to read and write. It is a typeless as it only supports string, and it is more secure. So we have tags like student, and we can have it like first name, last name, and these are the values inside the tags. So let's consider the previous example of JSON where we have this, and that can be converted into XML, which will something look like this. So we have a tag, attributes, and value. For example, for menu tag, we have attribute like ID and value, and ID and this value as an attribute, and then we have values inside. Now inside that we have another tag which is pop-up, and there we have another tag menu items, and we can repeat this as this is an array. We can repeat it many times, and on inside that tag we have key attributes and values. The first important topic which we are going to learn in integration is callouts. So when Salesforce reaches to the third-party systems via REST API using HTTP protocol, we can call that as a callouts. So to learn HTTP callouts, I have prepared this diagram where Salesforce interact with any third party. When it's third party in your client, you can have this third party as any software made in Java or any other language, or Even we can use third party as a Google APIs, or any website which gives you information based on the request you sent. So for example, we have YouTube APIs also. So what happens here is Salesforce will send a request. For example, we are using Google API. We send a request. Okay, send me the distance in miles between two cities. And in request we send, okay, we are sending you two cities. One is a source, which is Dallas, and the destination is Seattle. Then in response, Google API will send a response again. It could be in JSON, XML, string, or wrapper, which can tell, okay, between these two cities it's 500 miles or 20 miles. That kind of information we receive and show it on Salesforce. To have that integration, we just need the very important thing, which is endpoint URL, which tells the address of the third party. So this will help us to know where to reach to get the information back. Endpoint, that is the important thing which we need to get from a client whenever they ask for the integration. So HTTP callout with authentication is known as REST API, and without authentication is a regular callouts. So when we make a request for any information, if we provide username and password, if they ask, oh, you need to authenticate via some mechanism, like there are multiple ways to authenticate, but let's consider a simple example where we have to pass username and password, then it becomes REST API. And if we just simply use URL without any authentication, then it becomes callout. We will do in a demo, we will get the endpoint, and we will do some we will add it to the remote site setting. It's nothing but just whitelist the endpoint we get, so that Salesforce do not stop us from integrating this. It act as if we are adding a trust source as a URL. We will add a URL in our custom label, which is a best practice, and then we will write HTTP code. Simple. We are going to use Google API, and here we are going to the API which we are going to use is a distance matrix API, where you send the destination and origin, and you get the distance back in kilometers, and you have to pass this key which is used for authentication. Now it's time for demo, where I will show you first how I got this URL from Google API, and then I will show you how we can integrate. So first thing I did is I made my account in developers.google.com. You can simply sign up your account here, and then you will they will ask you to create a project. And if you don't know where you have to create a project, it will guide you everything here. You just need to go to a documentation, and these are the APIs which you can use. So here we are concerned about distance matrix API. So I clicked on this documentation and I get this. It tells you how to get started. It simply says you wanna which environment you want to try, Postman URL. I clicked on URL, and that's the endpoint I've got. So if you give this URL and with the destination and the origin, and unit imperial means show in kilometers, and you just need to pass your key, that's it. You will get the response back, which is like this. Your response will contain the miles, values, duration, like this. So how to get this started? Here, let me see where is it written. How? So first thing is we need to get the API keys. So let me click on this. So if you see here, it says before you begin, you need to create your API keys. Go to credential page. I'll go there. I've already created a API key, but I'm just telling you, if you don't have it, you can just go there and create your API keys. And once you have your API key, then you can simply use it like this. I'll copy paste this in my notepad, and I will also get the API key. So I can just click on show key, and I can copy my key here and put it in my notepad. Now I'll go to Salesforce brand new environment, and I'll try to show you how we can, with REST API, get the information from Google API. So first I will create a Apex class, demo Google Distance API. So we have not added this URL in remote site setting. We have not whitelisted, so it will give us error, and I will show you how. So first we need to make use of HTTP protocol to send a message and receive a response. So I'll just create a method here, integer, to send the distance. As a result, get distance here, string, source string distance, destination, and here I'll use HTTP request because we need to first prepare a request. So in that case, I'll create a request object, and now request can have multiple methods. What I'm looking for is set endpoint, so that is the client address. Here I can give, let me prepare the endpoint here and copy it from the notepad. Let's give here source plus I think destination. Okay, so it's in plural. I'll just put plural here, destinations, and then key. So we got our endpoint. Let's try to save this. Let me see the errors. Invalid type HTTP request. Missing return statement. Let me put 0 right now. Now we need to set the method. So we have multiple HTTP methods like post, put, get, which I will explain in other next video. In this one, we will use simply get, which is to retrieve information, to get information from the third party. Now we have prepared our request. Now we need to send this to and receive a response. So HTTP is being used as a HTTP is being used on the application layer to send the message and get the response back. So let's say HTTP pattern equals to new HTTP dot send, and we will send request, and we will receive HTTP response res here. Let's try to save it. Once we have a response, I can just show the debug JSON received is res dot get body. So I expect JSON to be received like, let me open this Google API. So I have prepared this request and I expect to receive a JSON like this. Now going back here, uh, I expect to get error of remote site setting. As we have not done that, let me just invoke this method first. Let's say Frisco and let's say Dallas. Logs. Unauthorized endpoint. So that's what it says. Go to remote site setting and set this endpoint. We will copy this and set it till here so that any URL after distant matrix, or we could also set it till maps so that anything after this will be whitelisted. Let's go and set this up. Type remote site setting. Google API. Put this. Now going back again here and let's check. So if you see, we have received a JSON back. Now I'll show you how we can use a parser from Apex very easily, but I will also show you how we can create a wrapper to receive this JSON first. Let me copy this JSON sample here, and there's a website known as JSON to Apex .herokuapp.com where you just pass your JSON sample and it will create a Apex class for you that will make it very easy for you to create that will create a wrapper and that will help you to parse and extract information from JSON. So I was receiving error when I was creating a JSON to Apex from the Google API like this from here. So what I did is I downloaded the log, and in the log I copied it from the our system debug, and then I provided that JSON on the here. I copied this from here and went to this JSON and then create Apex. So I received this file which I will open it. So I'll copy the wrapper from that JSON to Apex file which they created, and I'll copy it in the Apex class here. I'll say JSON Google API distance wrap, and I'll paste it here. All I need to do is cut and copy this. So if you see here what we have done, let me get that wrapper for you. So in this log we had received this JSON. So for destination addresses, which is an array, so we have created a list of strings. As this is array, so it should be in the list. It can receive multiple values. Similarly, for origin addresses, we have list, and then we have rows. And within that rows, we have list, which is also can be multiple, as it is a square bracket here. And then we have elements. So inside this class, we have made another wrapper class, which is elements. And inside wrapper, we can have distance, text, and value. And that's what we have: distance. And we have in distance, we have duration, just like here. And then we have status. And within distance, we have text and value. And this rows can have multiple elements like this. So this is what it constructed. Either you can do it from generate to apex, or you can do it by yourself. And there's another method, parse, which receives the string. This is where we are going to send it, and it will deserialize it. This is the method provided by apex, and it asks for this class name, that it is going to deserialize it or convert it into this class wrapper. So let's see how we can use it. Uh, Once we have received this, we'll put this in the string. Let's put this in the string. Now we will use this class dot parse and rest JSON, as the parse is using JSON, and we will receive this back. It's static, so that's what we did. Parse object, and let's say we need to get the distance. So if you understand this wrapper well, it should be in the rows, and rows is an array, and it should be elements, rows, elements, distance, and then text. Let's do that. So here we will have rows, which is 0, and after that we had elements and then distance. No, distance is not array, so we will not have 0th element. And distance, and in distance we had text, which gives you the distance in kilometer. Remove this. Let's see it. Let me see if it is coming in. Yeah, it's coming in string, so we can also receive it. Same distance, this, and we can return this value. Let's see. Variable does not exist rows in legal conversion from string to integer. So here we have text. Let's do it string here. First one issue resolved. And now the second issue says variable does not exist rows. Let's go back again. We have have rows here. I think so. Oops, my bad. Now we will have this, and this will give us string dist equals to this, and we will have system.debug check distance plus dist. So we got the distance, which is 45.9 kilometers. So let's revise what we have done. So first we learned later about OSI, which is 7 abstract layer, and HTTP is being used at application layer, which is the 7th one. And then we learned about JSON, which is like this key value pair, like name, then like this, and we have, if we have anything like colors, which is in a square bracket, then it means it's an array. For example, we have just like we have this. So we can have it like this. So we learned about then we we learned about JSON, and then we learned about XML, and then what we learned about callouts. So with authentication, it's REST API. And then without authentication, it's a normal callout. We also learned that the first thing for the integrate REST API, we need endpoint, and we need to put that endpoint in remote site setting to whitelist this, and then we use just endpoints then we made HTTP request object to prepare the message where we set the endpoint, and after that we set the method, which was get, and then we used in the HTTP object, we just send the request, and then we receive the above request in HTTP response, and after receiving it, we just did rest.getBody to receive the whole JSON in the string, and then either you can make a JSON parser, JSON wrapper class by yourself by reading the JSON, or you can use generate to Apex website to create an Apex class, and once you have that, then you use parse, and parse is a method where they use JSON.deserialize, and where you pass the JSON string, and then you have JSON, the class name. If you remember this part, this was all done by that class. Once you have this, then all you need to do is use the rows and element, whichever information you want to extract. One important thing which I missed is that you need to put this in the label. So let me just put it really quick and show it to you. So we'll create a label here. Google API and give the value like this. Generally, it's a best practice to use a label, and we will also put another label for the key. I'll paste it from the notepad. And I will make the necessary changes here. So here I will use label.google API plus this JSON, and then here we used label.google key. So we saved it, and it should do the same thing, give us the same result. So we got the same result. Thank you everyone for watching this video till the end. In our next videos we will cover some other topics for the integration. Thank you.